Hi, guys. We are on the very last chapter of Wayside School. So, if you remember at the beginning, it talks about how there are 30 stories because the building, Wayside School, is 30 stories high. You get the joke? 30 stories, 30 stories. Ah. All right. Anyway, today is the day we finish chapter 30. Lewis. Lewis had a red face and a mustache of many colors. He was the yard teacher at Wayside School. It was his job to see that the children didn't have too much fun during lunch and recess. And if you haven't already guessed, he's the one who wrote this book. On June 10th, there was a blizzard. Lewis was afraid that the children would have too much fun, so nobody was allowed outside. Class, said Mrs. Jules, after you finish your lunch today, come back up to the classroom. You are not allowed outside. The children all went to the lunchroom. Miss Mush had made tuna surprise. They looked at it and then hurried back up the stairs. There was nothing to do. Now, class, said Mrs. Jules, I know that you are all bored, but I have a special surprise for you. I hope it's better than tuna surprise, said Mauricia. Mrs. Jules continued, Lewis is going to come up and entertain us. He will tell us a story. Now I want you all to be on your best behavior. When Lewis walked in, all the children booed. Are you really going to tell us a story? Asked Phoebe. Yes, said Lewis. Well, it better be good, Phoebe warned. It better be better than tuna surprise, said Butterfingers. I thought the tuna surprise was good, said Lewis. You'd eat dirt if they put ketchup on it, said Mac. Hey, everybody, be quiet, said Todd. Let him tell the story. Not too loud, Lewis, said Sherry. I'm trying to take a nap over here. Lewis sat in the middle of the room, and all the children gathered around. Lewis began the story. This is a story about a school very much like this one. But before we get started, there's something you ought to know so that you don't get confused. In this school, every classroom is on the same story. Which one? The 18th? Asked Jenny. No, said Lewis. They're all on the ground. The school is only one story high. Not much of a school, said Damien. Lewis continued. Now, you might think the children are strange and silly, and that is probably true. However, when I told them stories about you, they thought that you were strange and silly. Us? The children answered. How are we strange? I'm normal, said Stephen, aren't I? As normal as I am, Joe assured him. The children at that school must be crazy, said Leslie. Real Lulus, Mauricia agreed. Tell us about them, Lewis, Phoebe demanded. For one thing, Lewis said, none of these children have ever been turned into apples. That's silly, said Dee Dee. Everyone's been turned into an apple. It's part of growing up. Lewis continued, dead rats don't walk into classrooms wearing raincoats. Well, what do they wear? Tuxedos? Asked Todd. And girls never try to sell their toes, Lewis added. Well, no wonder, said Leslie, at today's prices. Lewis continued, they don't trade names or read upside down. They can't turn mosquito bites into numbers. They don't count the hairs on their heads, and the walls don't laugh. And 2 plus 2 always equals 4. How horrible, said Damien. That's not the worst part of it, said Lewis. They have never tasted Mauricia flavored ice cream. A hush fell over the classroom. Mrs. Jules, I'm scared, said Allison. Is there really a school like that? Of course not, said Mrs. Jules. Lewis is just telling a story. It was a good story, said Leslie. I thought it was stupid, said Kathy. I liked it, said Rondi. It was funny. Mrs. Jules said, Lewis, it was a very entertaining story, but we don't really go for fairy tales here. I'm trying to teach my class the truth. That's all right, said Lewis. I have to go down to room 29 now and tell them a story. He started out of the classroom. Class, said Mrs. Jules, let's all thank Lewis for his wonderful story. And everybody booed. So, we have read the entire Wayside School, Sideways Stories from Wayside School. So, if you enjoyed this book, the author Lewis Satcher has written a number of books. He's written in the Wayside School series, he's written 3 books. So this one, Wayside Stories from Wayside School. He also wrote Wayside School is Falling Down and Wayside School Gets a Little Stranger. He has also written a number of other books. So if you go to the library, you can look him up and you can find some good books by him. So I hope you enjoyed this, and if you have a suggestion for another book, I would love to hear it. Otherwise, I'll pick the next one too. All right, guys. See you soon.